Hi, everybody. Welcome to your Wednesday market call. This is where we discuss the market, what's going on with the market, how you can thrive as an investor or real estate agent. I'm joined, as always, by broker owner Fred Solomon. How are you, Freddie?
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm doing good.
Outstanding. As always, March 27th. There is plenty of stuff on social media. Just type in my name, type in Fred's name. You'll find information about the event. I didn't really make an events page because I think we have plenty of people already set up to go. I might do a concerted effort. For those of you that are on the email list, you've probably seen the email. You guys get a discount if you get it through the email list. If you're going to buy it online through social media, tickets are $99 a piece. If you use the link in the email, $75, and you can bring a guest. Fun. With that said, we've actually ironed out, nailed down our final lineup. The day will start at 11 o'clock in the upper room. Fred and I will work exclusively with everybody. We will. For the first 3 hours of the day, we will have continental breakfast. And if you're wondering what that means Dunkin' Donuts and coffee. Thank you for asking.
That's awesome.
Then in the afternoon, we will have food. We start at 2 o'clock downstairs in the big room. I'll be inviting some investors along because I'm speaking the week before with investors, and I'll be inviting them over in the afternoon from 2 until 7. Our first speaker of the day will be Steve Hawks. That is confirmed. Steve Hawks will start the afternoon. Dr. Terrell Miller, Antonio Atoche, and we're going to close with arguably the biggest female broker in Las Vegas, who also does REIAs, who also does distressed properties, in Brandy White Elk. So good lineup, solid lineup, great speakers, good day.
I think we should have Pete Sanchez. I mean,
I tried. He can't make it. He's going to be at a retreat. I've already been there before I did the final lineup.
I would have let him take my spot because he's good.
No, there's plenty of space. I want Sally to talk in the morning about trusts and insurance. I think that's important for the group. I am working on a live stream for the morning group from perhaps one of the biggest brokers in San Diego County. I haven't nailed it down yet, but I'm pretty sure I can get him via. Yeah, I'm going to try to get Kyle to do an opening address to everybody because I promised Don Betts that I get an EXP speaker before I drop dead, even though technically I've had EXP speakers, but I'm going to have Kyle come in the morning. There are other people within that group that I can also get, but I'm going to get Kyle to do a Zoom meeting with us in the morning session. So it'll be interesting to hear what it's like from a bunch of number one people and how they got to their number one positions and the kind of work that they do. 3 of the people on this list, if I get Kyle, Steve, and definitely Brandy, you're talking arguably top 10 in their markets. These are top agents. So, and they're very active. So I'm going to bring that all in. I might even sneak in one more special guest for the morning session. When you can Zoom meeting, you can get some very unique people on. And then Fred and I, of course, and we're going to talk about marketing, and we'll do some very hands-on stuff in the morning session. Again, March 27th, 11 a.m. to about 7 p.m. Sunday night is what I like to call Dr. Terrell Miller's karaoke night featuring Don Betts. There you go. Said it out loud because Don steals the show every time. True. We do it at the Cat's Meow. It's in downtown, so everybody's staying in downtown. All right, everything's covered. Please get your tickets, information in the links, yada, yada, yada. Have fun. That's all coming up. I'm also speaking on Wednesday to a group of investors from 7 to 10 o'clock in Las Vegas. I have created a live YouTube stream so that the LA investors can see it. They want people there live, so I get that with Steve. They're going to have to go see it live, but everybody on my list, his LA investor list, I created a YouTube live page. Apparently it works. Apparently. Remember technology and me on remotes. But apparently it's all set up and ready to go. And then I'll be speaking on Saturday. So if you guys are coming in early for the weekend and you want to go on Saturday and see me speak for 5 hours, and there's, unless Terrell's on the call, I don't think anybody here has actually seen me speak. Steve's seen me speak for 5 hours. It's spectacular. I always think I'll run out of stuff to say. I don't. I, in fact, go longer than the 5 hours I'm usually allotted. And I would probably not give them a break. Steve wants to feed him. I say don't feed him. Give him water. It's short sale genius rules. That's the running joke at a short sale genius event. Do you have any refreshments? Water. It's free. It's in the back of the room. So there you go. You're all updated. That all starts next week. I think I've got it all planned out that I don't miss any coaching calls. I might be doing Wednesday's call from the airport in Burbank. But that's no big deal. That's why they make iPhones. And other than that, everything's set. So please make sure you have your tickets. I'm not taking the bus, Tina. I was going to take the bus, but here's a fun fact. It's cheaper to fly on Spirit Airline than go on the bus. And if you can figure the math out on that,
doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Because I'm telling you, there are $25 flights from LA, from Burbank to Las Vegas on Spirit, which to me is mind-boggling. My order from my favorite Mexican restaurant is more than $25.
What about PSA Airlines or Southwest? I think
Southwest is, here's the funny part. I go on Southwest because I prefer it. But I think the cheapest I saw was like $60 or $70 out of Burbank.
But Southwest, back in the day, I'm talking like 15, 20 years ago.
You're talking PSA. The only people who flew to, they flew to Fresno. That was the big deal.
$19, $29, $39.
Fresno and San Jose.
But they also had a good deal to Vegas, I remember.
Yeah, they did. There was also another one called Sun Country, which was sort of the frontier airline and the Spirit airline of its day. It was so windy once in Vegas that the guy had flown out of Vegas. No other pilot would fly back into Vegas because it was so windy. We got on board this plane and the pilot went, I just came from there. It's not that big a deal. And I am telling you, it's the most frightening flight I've ever been on that I still remember it. And that's 1988, 89. And it was spectacular. So there you go. There's your updates. And if you're thinking of flying instead because it's $25, I don't even think you could buy gas to drive to Vegas for that cheap. But that is a remarkably cheap flight. So that's your update. I look forward to seeing everybody next week. I look forward to Steve Love's group next week. I might even get to go to a fight, Fred. I'm very excited. I don't think I'm going to get approved. I've been kind of hard on this organization. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not going to be shocked when they go, oh, sorry, we don't have room at the fight for you, even though you've been doing this since 2006. That happens to me a lot, by the way, a lot. Can't say bad things in boxing. They don't like it. That's the cover on that. All right, we're all caught up. So let's get to what we want to talk about today. And Fred kind of was kicking this off into a direction, which is why do certain markets behave the way they behave, right? And it's funny that you bring this up because I pulled up a story for the 10 hottest markets, Fred. There are still 10 hot markets, believe it or not. And they're not anywhere where you think. In fact, I'd be shocked if anybody got one of these cities because they are that obscure. Fred's already Googling. That's not fair, Fred. But this was your point, right? Temecula, I would say better than 75% of Orange County is appreciating at worst flat. At worst flat. 75 to 80% of Orange County right now. Santa Ana shows pockets. Garbage Grove shows pockets. You know, there are certain sections that are showing some leeway for sure. For sure. Inland Empire, where Tina is, stabilized prices in some area, not in others, right? You were talking about Temecula. On the other hand, San Francisco is a bloodbath right now, a bloodbath. And SVB did not help San Jose and San Francisco at all. Seattle's a bloodbath still. Boise, Idaho's a bloodbath. San Diego, we know was a bloodbath. That was inevitable. They had gained something like 20% year over year. Like they were all set up to crash bad in San Diego. LA County's pocket by pocket, Fred. So it is a very realistic point that you bring up. And your point was Temecula. I have no idea what would prop Temecula up ever.
Wine country. It's such a popular destination for wine country. I mean, there's really good wineries and they're beautiful, and it's it's a very trendy thing to go from Orange County to Temecula to go wine tasting for the day. And there's all these Groupon things where they sell 4-hour limo ride from we're going to visit these 3 or 4 wineries. So it's a trendy thing to do.
I completely get that. And the same could be said about Northern California, right? But those markets in Northern California that are predominantly wine country right now are losing money.
Yeah, Napa is like 45 minutes or an hour from San Francisco. You're right.
If you go slightly south of San Jose down into that belt where, they have lovely concert venues, lovely golf, amazing location, they're losing money. And in fact, I think they're all underwater at the moment. So it's going to be even harder at the moment. But it brings up an interesting dynamic about the market. And so the question really would be, was it like this in 2006? The answer is yes. I cannot begin to tell you how many people the first year I was on the road in 2007 going, well, not my market. Okay. I can tell you 2 years ago while I was on the road going through Phoenix and Vegas, and I told them exactly what the default rate would look like and what the depreciation would look like. And people looked at me like I was straight up insane. Okay, here we are 2 years later. I'm not insane. This was inevitable because I would have never expected Austin. I got to be perfectly honest. I didn't expect Austin, Fred. Austin's taking it very hard right now because they overappreciated so bad. That's one of the few markets I didn't see coming. But I got to give you guys this list because I couldn't believe the list personally. These are the top 10. I feel like it should be where is it? Okay. Number 1 on the list is Davenport, Iowa. They're up 38%, Fred, year over year.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy, right? So when you say it's Montgomery, Alabama, up 26% as of February year over year.
I have a reasoning for why this is happening, because these people sold their homes and they wanted to go live in less expensive areas.
Yep.
And so when they went to these less expensive areas, the values went up because they had a lot of people moving there. It's kind of like moving from, LA, Orange County, San Diego out to the Palm Springs area.
Correct.
The people pay cash. They put $1 million in they put $500,000-$700,000 in the bank because their houses are paid off in LA, in Orange County. They're the cheapest house in anywhere decent in LA is over $1 million.
Correct.
There's no way it's anything less than that. I mean, obviously certain areas, but anything on the west side, that's 2-3 million. Anything in the valley, my parents' house, in Woodland Hills or Tarzana or any Sherman Oaks or Studio City, $2-4 million. Anything, people are buying houses and flattening them down in my parents' neighborhood and rebuilding. And I know the cost to build is $400 or $500 a foot, and they're, buying a house for $2 million and then flattening it and then turning it in and building a 7,000 square foot house at $500 a foot. They got $5.5 million invested on a home that might be worth $2 or $3 million. But these people don't care because that's where they want to live. Crazy, but that's what's happening.
It's funny because I won the lottery last night, Fred. I won $228 million. I've been having this discussion with my mother about buying a bigger house. I said, I still wouldn't pay $3 or $4 million to live in San Marino or Pasadena or on that. It's just so much money for such a compact area that LA has outpriced its. LA is going to get hurt at some point. I don't know when. I don't know how far into this, but pockets of LA, Pasadena, Hastings Ranch, Sierra Madre, like that whole stretch, right? And forget the Valley. Valley's going to get popped too. It's appreciating too hard. And if you're wondering, why can you make that statement? I can look at the data right now at markets that over appreciated and go, they're all coming down. They're all coming down. Now, do I think that Laguna Beach and Laguna Niguel are going to depreciate? No. There's like 12 houses in both markets, and they're not for sale. Pretty much the same thing. It's in that Pasadena corridor too. None of those houses are for sale. All those people own those houses outright. They own them cash. They're not going anywhere. They know they have a good deal, and they've got millions of dollars in equity. Most of those are highly educated people, college degrees with, some kind of financial background. And
Well,
we're not.
I'll tell you how they think. They think the same way that I think about my condo in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I'm not selling it. I'm going to go live there, 6 months, 3 months out of the year when my son starts going to college. That was my reasoning. I'm another year away from that potential possibility, where, if it wasn't for my dogs and getting dogs over to Hawaii, which is so difficult from what I understand, if it wasn't for that, I probably would have gone on more vacations over there because, I'm just a dog person. So,
I'm sorry to hear that.
not like those German shepherds you guys got over there.
Anybody run a Google search on how much chocolate a dog has to eat before it kills itself?
Oh my God.
No, but I completely agree with you. I mean, look at my current situation. I work remote. I moved into one of the family house trusts, which my mom's in as well. The house is owned outright. It's worth millions of dollars. There's really no overhead here except for the staff that maintains the house. And or the dogs. I'm convinced that the staff maintains the dogs. That's really what their function is. Clean up after the dogs outside and inside. It ate a stick of butter, Fred. I really can't get over the stick of butter. That's just gratuitous in my mind. But I agree with you. It's a logical thing to do that. And you're right. The article actually cites this particular article. And if you want to read it, feel free. It's on, our favorite publication, Realtor.com, not owned by the National Association of Realtor. And they cite the same thing. The lower prices have attracted interest from Californians. 2/3 of the web traffic to listings in the city come from LA and San Francisco. Simple as that. Number 3, and this is the one that's shocking to me, by the way, on the list, Fred, because my family's from here. Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Wow.
Median price is $354, $262. They're up year over year as of February, 18.5%. Now I'm going to tell you why this is significant to me. How do I say this without upsetting Sally and or anybody watching who might be from Tulsa? It's a shithole. I mean, no offense, but they have some extreme weather events there. I mean, that's the only place. Hey, let's go visit the family and go down to the hurricane shelter. Tornado. They actually have tornado shelters. Like you have to have a tornado thing in the backyard.
But you know what? I'd rather be in an area that has tornadoes because at least, they give you tornado warnings, right? And then if you have a tornado coming at you, at least you have time to drive in your car at 100 miles an hour to get away from that. There are people that will hunker down and go into their basements and hopefully,
Are you having Northridge flashbacks, Fred? I feel a Northridge flashback.
But that's the point. With earthquakes, you don't know when they're coming.
I've got a Whittier Narrows flashback because that happened when I think I was 18 or 19. But Whittier Narrows was pretty awful. Northridge was phenomenal. I was already doing asset management work then. I mean, what it did in the valley was shocking. it looked like an apocalyptic universe.
Well, I remember driving past one building by the Northridge Mall, and it had, the first story had basically sandwiched, and people were stuck down in the first story, and they were trying to dig these people out. When we see these earthquakes at other, other countries, they don't have the same building requirements that we do in California. So, they have these reinforced steel, that are put into the brick buildings, and there's all kinds of stuff that they do. So that way, if the big bad wolf does huff and puff, he won't blow the house down unless it's a, 9.0 earthquake or something ridiculous. But these properties can withstand pretty, heavy earthquakes. And that Northridge earthquake, I'm telling you, I was 5 miles away from the epicenter. I was in that earthquake, and I thought the house was going to, one wall was going to come down, then the other wall was going to come down, and then the roof would come down right on top of the bed. It was really violent. I mean, violent, like.
Well, but look what it led to. We started bolting bridges. We changed the building codes. I know this because I've done construction. The codes all changed after Northridge. They learned a lot from Northridge. Houses are safer now, period, in California. Yeah. And we haven't had an earthquake in forever, knock on wood. But we haven't had one in forever. So that pretty much means we're going to wind up in the ocean. So I live on a hill. I'm hoping for the best. I've been watching apocalyptic videos, so I'm not one to ask on this topic. Now that we've got a meteor that's going to hit us in 2024, 34 on Valentine's Day. Yeah, that's fun. Youngstown, Ohio. Median list price, $151,575, up 18% year over year, Fred. Unbelievable. Halfway between Cleveland and Pittsburgh is Youngstown, Ohio. Unbelievable. Number 6, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Okay, can I say this again, Fred? Another hellhole. This is the coldest place on the planet, in my humble opinion, in the United States. They're up 17% year over year. Number 7, McAllen, Texas, up 16.4% year over year. Median price $283. Number 8, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Median price $322.4, up 16% year over year. Harrisburg was recently named one of the best places in the country to retire, Fred. Fun fact, by U.S. News and World Report. So therefore, it must be true. Another fun place that I'd never go to. Little Rock, Arkansas. Median price is $304, up 15.9% year over year.
I think that's Bill Clinton was from there.
Yes, they don't have a yellow sun there, Fred. They don't. It's a different color. Fun fact. And then Knoxville, Tennessee at number 10, 457, 116, up 13% year over year. At least Knoxville's like a real place in Tennessee. And Minneapolis is, a couple of these are very real places, but Minneapolis is shockingly cold. That's the only place I ever traveled to where I was fearful of dying from exposure. And that's your top 10 list of places that are appreciating. Didn't hear Austin, didn't hear Laguna Beach, didn't hear Orange County, didn't hear Austin.
What's another great city? It's Nashville.
Nashville's great, but they're expensive right now. They're not listed on there, but I'm sure their prices are up and coming down. Well, we can run that. That's the fun part. Again, for everybody who doesn't know this, you can always pull Zillow data if you want to find out what a market's doing.
Are you going to do that right now?
Yeah, why not? Got another city you want to look at? Or do you want to cover some other news? Because I have other news.
Well, only because my cousin lives there, and he was in Hawaii, and now he moved to Nashville, and I hear a lot of bachelorette parties and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, almost everybody I know who's in a professional band, professional musician, touring musicians, they live in Nashville. That's and it's usually a jumping off point for most of those places. So you want Nashville. Let's see. Let's see what we can find. There's Nashville.
Sorry.
Down, Fred. 0.1%. It's a very negligible
Stable.
number.
It seems like a stable market.
Yeah. Yeah. It's flat technically at the moment. Good spot. Good spot. Unlike, lovely places in Oklahoma, like Oklahoma City, that's declining.
Do they have a median price homes in there?
That would be a different report. Good question, Fred. You've asked a good question.
Yeah.
List and sales price. Why, Fred, we can do that. And if you don't know how to do it, it's Zillow.com/research/data. Make yourself look like a rock star. Redfin has one too. I just tend to pick Zillow because I think it has more data. That's just me. All right, where's my report? There's my report. So you want Control F. I want Nash. There's Nashville. So let's scoot all the way to the end of the report. So, and we'll rewind this for Fred. Oh, they're declining, Fred. Not a lot. So their peak was 483.3. Okay. And that was 4 months ago. They hit their peak at 483.3 as the median price in Nashville. Then they started their decline. First decline went to 476.6. Then they went to 468. And then now they're currently at 465 even.
That's weird because Redfin is saying they're at 424 as of January of 2023.
Yeah,
but,
I always wonder why Redfin is slightly different than Zillow's data, unless Zillow's lying about their numbers. I mean, I guess that could be a thing, theoretically. But and people seem to lean heavily on Redfin data for some reason. Nobody's data ever, by the way, this is a fun fact as a guy who looks at all this stuff all the time. Fun fact, nobody's data lines up, Fred. Nobody. NAR's numbers are whatever magical solution or mix they come up with. Zillow has their own set of numbers. Redfin has their own numbers. And Case-Shiller has their own numbers. So I guess you could theoretically aggregate them and come up with one number based on all of it. I wouldn't do that if it were me. That's way too much work. Right, I agree with you, Don. It's MLS data versus public records. Theoretically, NAR is using MLS data, but theoretically, Zillow's data is MLS data plus public records and or public entry. I mean, you can, I believe in some markets, you can just directly upload into Zillow. So you can take it for what it's worth. For me, they're just steering tools. Public records do lag. I agree about that.
Jane wants Jupiter, Florida.
I don't think it's going to be Jupiter, Florida, but we can certainly try. I think it's going to be Miami, Jane. I just know this.
What county is that, Jane?
It's not going to. Jupiter is not a thing. Yeah, it would be Miami. I don't think they go as small as Jupiter. It would be Miami. Now they might. Miami, Oklahoma, Miami, Florida. Technically, let's see what they say. They're barely showing signs. So their peak was just a couple of months ago at 549 in Miami. Then 2 months ago, it dropped to 545,667, and now they're at 542,667. So $3,000 a month, that's strong. It's just under 1%. What is that, about 3/4, Fred, based on my math? Just slightly. If you're losing $3,000 a month, strong.
Yeah, $3,000. It's 0.6 of
0.6. All right. Top of my head.
It's six 6% on a $500,000 home. Wait, no, that would be 36,000 divided by 500. What's that? It bothers me. 36,000 divided by 500.
You're in charge of math for the group, Fred. It's not me.
7.2%.
There you go. Zillow is never correct. I don't know necessarily that Zillow is never correct. However, speaking on data and they are living and dying by their data, and they've made their decisions about the market based on their data and not anybody else's data. And they made their decisions to sell their properties based on their data, and they were way ahead of the curve. They got out of Phoenix first. When they got out of Phoenix, nobody thought Phoenix was going under. Nobody. And here we are. And Phoenix right now, just for the sake of argument, PHO. There it is. Market number 10. Anybody know that besides this machine? That was pretty strong. So their peak, which as wild as it was, they had a big peak. So they got to the peak, Fred, of $509,975. That's a big peak for Phoenix. Then in the first month, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this is as of when rates started to drop. The first month, they lost $8,000, and the median price dropped to 501. And I probably would blame Zillow on that, liquidating so much in the market. From 501, they kind of pittered out a little bit. They went to 489,975, 481,666, then to 473 3 months ago, 466,633. They only dropped a little bit last month, 463,300. They came up, Fred. They gained $300 in appreciation.
Wow. Yeah, it's picked up the last 6 weeks or so.
That's and again, this is the lag that Don is talking about, right? So you've got to factor for this bizarre January, February Redfin CEO, the market's bouncing back and everything skippy. In a bunch of markets, it had an effect, especially the major markets. People got involved again. In fact, I was saying this on Red Calls yesterday. If I was a buyer, I'd be all over it right now. Buy down rates, you can get something reasonable. I'd be all over a new house for sure, because they're giving everything up.
Well, look, there are two important things that I want to discuss based on some of the comments. You know, Tina said, look, they reduced a home $100,000, $20,000 and $50,000 at a time, because these builders got to get rid of that inventory, and their stock prices, they just got so much to deal with when you are trading your stocks, and they got to bring in revenue. Otherwise, they're going to see their revenues are down 80% or whatever the case may be. And that's not good for stock prices. So anyways, the other thing that's really good, here's a marketing technique. And I like this, what Tina wrote again. When I do CMAs, they're way off. So here's what I would do. You want to become an expert, right? Show the CMA that Zillow and Redfin are talking about on your home, right? And then go ahead and do a comparative market analysis and show them what the real value is. And then I would say something like, and you want to use a realtor from Redfin or Zillow to sell your home when they don't even know what the possibility of your correct price is. I don't know if you want to take it that far, but you can just take it as far as, here's what Zillow and Redfin say. Here's what a comparative market it says. Go get expert advice. Give me a call. That kind of stuff.
I agree.
And use some examples.
My clients often say, well, Zillow says, of course they do. They're not looking at the data section. They're looking at that stupid search engine. And again, there's a big difference between raw data and whatever the search engine does, Fred. They're going to, I don't know how much they're pulling from. I know how I appraise because I was taught by an appraisal instructor. And most people don't appraise that way. He would never look at solds. He never looked at solds. And most every version, the MLS version, even the Zillow version, lean heavily on what's actually sold.
Well, here's the way I handle that question or that statement. And everybody has their own way of handling it. But my attitude is, you think that's what Zillow says? Well, here's, you won't believe this, but before I came over to your house, I brought up 10 properties that we're going to go get in my car right now, and we're going to go look at ourselves. And these are the houses that you're up against in your neighborhood. These are the houses that are going to be your competition. These are the houses that the buyers are all going to go look at. So don't you think if you're trying to sell a house that you should go look at it too, to see how your house compares to those other houses? And then ask yourself a simple question at the end of the day: what do I need to do in order to sell my house for top dollar? So that's how I respond to Mr. Client that, says, well, this is what Zillow says. You got to be, that's like a player on the basketball court getting injured, and the person that's sitting on the bench has to pop up real quick, go check himself into the basketball game, and say, I'm ready, coach. I'm ready to win. And you know how you stay ready? The way you stay ready is by having 10 houses to go take your client to and say, oh, by the way, here's what all the other buyers are going to be. Here's what your house is up against. We better go look at those houses, Mr. Seller. And guess what it does? All of a sudden, they have to drink the Kool-Aid. And then they really appreciate all the work that you did to put that list together, and spending that 3 or 4 hours together with them to go show them all the homes that are for sale. And then they know if another realtor comes by, they're not going to go with that other realtor. They're going to go with that realtor that worked their little booty off to go show you a bunch of houses and say, here's what we need to do in order to get your house sold in the shortest amount of time and for the most amount of money. I have some suggestions. And then all of a sudden they're like open, they're just waiting for you to talk. They want to listen. You've earned their respect, and they're ready to listen to you and take your advice. And that's how you do it. That's how you stop all that. My clients often say, well, this is what Zillow says. Okay, Zillow, and this is how I approach it. Have you ever been to Disneyland? And there's an area of Disneyland called Fantasyland. Okay, that's Zillow and Redfin. Zillow and Redfin are over in Fantasyland. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you to not Tomorrowland, but Todayland. Todayland is what all the houses that are selling for in your neighborhood. So tomorrow, we don't know what's going to happen in Tomorrowland with real estate. But if you think like we think, there's a possibility prices may be coming down. Now, some of the data may not show that, but this data can turn quick, because all it takes is the interest rates going up to 8%, like Lee says, and I'll guarantee you these home prices are going to come down. I'll guarantee it. So here we are, we have Tomorrowland, and then we have Fantasyland. And somewhere in between are 10 houses that we're going to go take a look at, and we're going to figure out what Todayland is. And then if you use these silly little analogies that I use, they are so effective. They are so effective. And
I think they all, by the way, I think you just quoted Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. Where should we build this house? I don't know, Fantasyland? Hilarious. By the way, that's exactly what he said. Where should we build this? Where should we build our fictitious company? I don't know, Fantasyland. I think I got the quote right, which I love. Let me do another gratuitous plug in here for said event for anybody who's here. And Dr. Terrell Miller has joined us on the call as well. We will be there on Sunday. Most everybody will be there on Sunday for Dr. Miller's karaoke night at the Cat's Meow. But the event itself starts on Monday at 11 o'clock. And it will be very exciting. We have great speakers lined up. If you are late, I am telling you again who the speakers are for after. In the morning, I'm going to try to get one more speaker set up. We'll do a little bit of time with Sally because I think you guys need that information on insurances and trusts and things of that nature. I will certainly talk about, Fred and I will talk about marketing. Then in the afternoon, 2 o'clock on, start with Steve Hawks, Dr. Terrell Miller, Antonio Atoche, closing off with Brandy White Elk. So back to back, solid speakers, great event. For all of you on the call, if you've got a link down below, $75, you can bring a guest with that special link. The rest of the known universe is paying $99 a ticket, and it's a very fair figure all by itself just for that. So for everybody who's here on the call that has not gotten their ticket, there's your link. That's your $75 link. Jump on it. Don't be shy. Enjoy. Now back to it, Fred.
Mm-hmm.
So we've covered a lot of data. We've covered that marketing happens in pockets. It's time to discuss some hardcore numbers. It's time for share the screen moment where you and I get to comment on the horrible realities of what people are actually reporting. My favorite part of the day when we do this stuff, by the way, because the numbers don't lie. I don't want to quote me circa 2007, but the numbers are the numbers, Fred. So let's talk about the numbers, shall we? First of all, NAR is reporting existing home sales are down 0.7%. I don't think that's the biggest deal about this report, and I don't know why a bigger deal wasn't made about this, Fred. It's the first paragraph that blows my mind that they'd actually release. Existing home sales fell for the 12th straight month. Have you heard that in any mainstream media at all? I've heard 6. I've certainly heard 6. Okay. I have not heard 12 straight months. NAR's quoting 12 straight months of declines. That's crazy. Now they will pepper it in. The South and the West regions are showing registered increases. There you go. But this was brand new data to me right there. So I was a little shocked by that one. Do you have any comment on NAR's shocking assertion? Again, we're talking MLS data as compared to Zillow data or Redfin data. Based on their data, we have been declining in home sales for 12 straight months.
So the Fed chairman picks up the phone, talks to the media people over at NAR, and says, "Hey guys, we got to be in unison with each other. We got to put the same material out. And we want these home prices to drop. So, I know we're going to slow your business down. I know we're going to lose some realtors, and they're going to have to figure out, how to put food on their table, go get another job, in a different industry or whatever, or go back to what they were doing before. We understand all that, but we need this, we need these home prices to drop."
Fred,
so we're going to
straight up conspiracy theory talk.
Well, I'm not afraid of saying that.
Oh my God, I've converted you completely. I win.
No, you haven't.
Yahtzee.
I still will look at the data. I will never.
All right.
That. But
okay.
Do I believe this is happening? Oh, hell yes, I do. Oh, hell yes, I do.
Well, there you go on NAR's current report. As always, we'll take a look at the S&P, which is only good up until December. They do lag. We all know that they lag. Nothing has really changed. We won't get new numbers till the end of the first quarter. But for those of you who've never seen this, you can go to fred.stlouisfed.org/shares, or just type it in. type in Case-Shiller Index home prices, and you'll get taken to this page. What's great about it, you can download the actual hard data. You can actually edit the graph. Why would you want to be able to edit the graph unless you're making a report for somebody who needs a certain number? Just saying it out loud for the room, Fred. But you can download the raw data, and it'll show you the month by month breakdown of their numbers. And remember, they lag by 3 months. They're the ones who, again, we've talked about this report before, and it is such a, if you look at it just 1 year, right? It is a steady decline. And it is far more dramatic than what we experienced in 2006 to 2007. If you look at it from a 5-year perspective, we've never seen anything like this. And certainly we hit our peak in June of 2022. We know what happened there. And from there, it's just been a slow, bumpy ride from that point forward. But if you look at it, I looked at the max. I've never, this chart by itself, Fred, I think speaks volumes. There has never been that sharp a decline, even for what it is, 6 months, right? And I suspect it'll be 9 months when the next report comes out. But we have never shown a decline at that rate. You don't have to really like pull numbers to figure this out. I mean, you can, because they give you the data, and you can show that in the first 6 months of the peak, they didn't lose, they lost like 0.5%. Like they didn't really start losing until September 2007. And that's when it got serious. And by the way, they didn't really reach bottom until January of 2012. I mean, it was a substantially long ride from the peak, 6 years almost to the bottom, right? And then
2011 and 12 is when interest rates were in the 3 and 4% range.
Right. They
So
did everything they could.
That's what started the recovery, is that the interest rates caused people to start buying properties again. And that's where you see the growth in prices, because the rates were the lowest they had been at that time in 40 years.
Yep. Well, until we get into here. This lift chain, as I described it on some of the red calls yesterday, this is a roller coaster. This looks like a roller coaster. This looks like the beginning of a lift hill on a roller coaster. And we're past the January point. There is no part of me that believes that the next quarter's report, Fred, is going to show anything but more of a decline. There's no part of me. There's nothing to indicate, because the rates went up, in fact, aggressively, right? They didn't lower them till the middle of Q1. When was it? February? When did they make that radical departure? They dropped the rate and then they turned around and raised it right back. And it was all done within less than 30 days.
Interest rates went through the roof January of 2022. That's where they started going up.
I would suspect.
And then you can see what happened to the prices as soon as the rates went up. It's very, very evident what happened to.
I'm not going to be really surprised if they show more of a dramatic drop because again, we're talking lag time. I think they're going to show more of a drop. I don't think anything that would show any kind of flattening isn't going to happen until the second Q because of the lag time. So sorry to tell everybody, here's reality. This number is going to keep going. And most people who create content seem to believe that we're at a tipping point where when this next report comes out, and it's going to be substantial, mainstream media will get involved. And I have stated for the record repeatedly, it's not what Fred thinks, not what I think, it's not what any of you on the call think, it's what homeowners think. And you better be prepared to have a discussion and show your work. I mean, this is like higher math, Fred. I got to take you over to Zillow and I got to download median prices and I got to show you your metro and here's the S&P and where it's all going. And you have to be prepared for that in this market. I think agents that don't know how to handle or maintain or be able to show charts or graphs or actual comparables is completely out of their minds. You're not going to, in a declining market, it's going to be impossible. I know this getting ready to talk to investors. If I'm not prepared to show graphs and charts and depreciation, they're not going to listen to me. They're not going to listen to me about flipping houses. They're going to still think it's okay. As long as I get the right deal, it's a great opportunity to flip houses. Okay, well, let's discuss that. You're in Las Vegas. Let's take a look at, Las Vegas. It doesn't take rocket science for me to walk an investor through the median price and go, you're depreciating. You have been depreciating. You're living in a number that peaked at 477,998 7 months ago. And since then, all you've done is decline. So what person in their right mind would want to physically try to flip a house in a market that's declining? I mean, this is like developer builder 101. You don't build in a declining market. You just don't.
Well, here's what it means is that in the last 6 months, it's come down $43,000, right? Or
Yeah.
$44,000, which
10%,
is
10% in 6 months.
So that's an annualized return of 20%. So what you tell your client is, we need to get an offer accepted 20% lower than what the offer was at the peak of this 477. So
I'll wait on the market, Fred. I know it'll turn around. I heard Biden is going to do something and the Fed and the market's going to turn around. So I just want to stay on the market at $478,000.
Well, I think it's a good time to buy in Vegas a new home because the builders are already discounting the prices dramatically.
So are new home builders.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, completely. But, and again, the one thing I do like about having to work with investors next week, this isn't like a hard sales pitch. Like they should learn how to do this. This is exactly how a bank looks at an asset. When you have access to data, even if you don't believe this data completely, all right, let's just say you believe it 50-50, right? The banks use something called OFIO data, which pretty much looks exactly the same way. They're just charts and projections. Like you can take this, you can figure out the average, put a number here, it shows the rate of decline, and break it down, right? Like you can average it out and go, the rate of decline per month is X, right? Then if I want to, then I can just figure out 6 more months at the rate of X will tell me what this will be when I'm ready to flip it or sell it or do whatever I'm going to do. This is the way developers think. This is the way banks think. This is classic asset management. Classic asset management. Always project 6 months to a year into the future. It's not what you're going to sell it for. There's what you can sell it for today, and there's no doubt of what you can sell it for today. The question is, what can you sell it for 6 months from today? Well, you don't know. You don't know. The market could turn around. They could drop the rate to 0 again. You're right. They could. And monkeys could fly out of my butt, but I don't expect that either.
Oh, the flying monkeys.
I brought it back for you, Fred, right there. I brought back the flying monkey story.
Oh, I love it.
That's circa 2000, that for you and Terrell, that's a circa 2008 quote.
Love it. That is amazing.
For those of you going, you never said that to a full room. Oh, I said it to 1,000 agents in San Diego with a straight face with my fly open, which I didn't know until break. But in the first half was definitely, I don't expect monkeys to fly out of my butt, but I suppose it could happen. Terrell saw that one. That's a circa 2008, 2009 material. I would like to believe my comedy is far more refined these days, but if I was literally standing face to face with somebody right now and they were pitching me, what's your house listed for? It's listed for 1.5. Well, the area is worth like $1 million. You don't know. You're right. I don't. I'm not Nostradamus. I'm not. I'm certainly not. I would be, I would be hard pressed not to do the monkey story right there, Fred. You know what? Monkeys could fly out of my butt. I just don't expect it right now. The odds are very low, but it could happen. You don't know. Come to Vegas, could find out for the first time. Monkeys could fly out of my butt in Las Vegas. One quick trip through the banking institutions, because I'm sure you guys are all interested what's going on with banking since the SVB collapse. Wells Fargo is still taking it in the shorts, Fred. They are just never going to figure this out. I mean, way back here in July, when they started making radical changes, they started to get themselves out of the toilet. And it's been this weird rocky ride since then, but they got hit hard as of last week. They're feeling the pain. Could Wells Fargo be next? God, I'd love to title this video. Could Wells Fargo be next? That's clickbait. They'll bail them out.
Yeah,
number 3 lender is not going anywhere. Chase Bank is maintaining. I mean, but they certainly took a hit. I mean, they're not at their lows for sure. I mean, they had some very horrible moments year over year, but in a 5 years, they're doing okay. I mean, their hardest point was during the pandemic for sure, when they got down to $83 a share, and right now they're at 127. They're doing okay. Jamie's, keeping it real. B of A, this is Mahoney. Is it still Mahoney? I ask all the time. It's Brian Moynihan. Sorry, Moynihan. He's doing okay. I mean, please remember that B of A bailed out Countrywide and the U.S. federal government. I mean, if you really look at them on a max historical level, boy, they ate it hard for Countrywide. I mean, their stock really, what's their max on this? Yeah. If you go back here, I mean, they were on top of the world, right? And then this Countrywide thing just ate them alive, Fred. They went down to $6 a share after they were instructed to bail out Countrywide and buy their assets. And they took on a lot of bad debt. And for them to come all the way back to $28 a share, that's not bad. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I really never thought they were going to recover here. I mean, they would have never failed because they did the government a favor in 2008 and 9 by buying their crap and servicing those loans. But I mean, they made a steady climb. Kudos to Moynihan. Kudos to him. That's steady growth. This is a bank I can trust in. They've shown nothing but growth. I cannot say the same about Wells Fargo. Boy, do they look like a blistering bloodbath, man. They're going the wrong way, Fred. They're going the wrong way. I mean, they dug themselves out during the crash, right? They peaked like everybody else, but when they started to crash, they made all those cuts, which kind of helped, but they're back down to when they made those radical changes the last time. So Wells will be fun. Wells, Chase, and B of A aren't going anywhere. The other one to keep an eye on is BlackRock. BlackRock is down 11.16% over the past year, Fred. And as everybody knows with me, my greatest fear with BlackRock is very, 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 very simple. What does the number have to drop to for BlackRock to freak out and liquidate? I mean, what did they start at? They actually started, the public offering was at $14 a share. They really took off.
Their profits are so high, even though their profits are down. It was I think it was over $1 billion.
Oh yeah, no. In fact, there's a video that's floating around and you can Google this. BlackRock owns the world. And I kind of agree with it. Look, good asset management again, right? Because that's technically what they are. They're an asset management trust fund. They operate. So here's how it used to work when I started in '88. There were companies that came in that would manage and service bad assets, right? So in '88 into the early '90s, you'd be a small group that would farm out to a bunch of agents within a territory, right? So that's how I started. I did Southern California at my dad's company. I was an asset manager and a property manager for the territory. And we had something like 20 or 30 agents. And trust me, the gifts were aplenty to get on that list. Then I went over to GMAC Homecomings, which was just Homecomings at the time. They had bought bad portfolios. They were servicing them. GMAC came in and bought them out so that they could start making loan. And then they had an asset management group. Pretty smart. Then I did developing in real estate on my own, and then I went back to IndyMac. Ultimately, most companies are built on BlackRock, sort of the refined version of what they had learned from those first couple of years. I think my dad said it best. As long as there's, forgive me for saying this, as long as there's shit paper, there's somebody buying shit paper. And BlackRock bought REOs. They bought pre-foreclosure properties. They got deregulated so that they could negotiate back in 2009, 2010 directly with the banks when they were at their lowest point, and they sunk all their money into it. They went for broke. And ever since then, it's been a rocket ride for them. So I agree with you, Fred. My only question is from a basic logical asset management perspective. If the assets devalue so much that it makes more sense to sell them, sit on your money, right? Instead of working on, this is a company that is based on passive income, right? This is a passive income investment model. They buy, they put in renters. That's what they do. Commercial, and it's all broken down. I recently saw their percentages. They have commercial, they have residential, but it's all about renters. If those assets devalue to a point that it makes more sense to sell it and wait for the market to continue to decline, why wouldn't you? I think you're doing a disservice to Larry Fink. Well, he's been there since the beginning. Larry Fink's been there since the very beginning, so he can do whatever he wants. But I'm just telling you how I would think as a CEO if this was my company.
That guy is from Woodland Hills, and he went to UCLA.
He's not one of the Three Stooges? That's a good joke. It's Larry Fine. Sorry.
So look at what Donald Ross says, okay? And this is crazy. And this is kind of the stuff that I'm talking about when it comes to Orange County. He says, you know, 2-bedroom condo, 500,000 several months ago. Slightly larger condo, 100 square feet bigger, sold for $630. Prices went up in the last 6 months. Okay, well, here's what's happening. The problem is that, and we've had discussions about this, but I truly believe that the government is not going to lie about the job numbers.
Sorry.
I know that's not a popular way of thinking on this platform, but I just don't think they would do that. But you know what? I do think they will manipulate things in order to accomplish their goal. I do that. I do believe that. The way that they manipulated things, at least one that I was shocked over, was when they pretty much changed the definition of the word recession during the first 2 quarters of July of 2022. They pretty much changed the definition of recession after the second quarter numbers came out. And I was waiting anxiously for those numbers because I knew that was going to put us officially into a recession where I thought interest rates would come down, which they did temporarily until the inflation numbers were out of whack. And then what happened? They went up. And 2022 saw the rates like on a seesaw battle. But you know what? People in Orange County have money. That's the bottom line. They just have money. And there are more people buying for cash in those types of areas And you know what? And the way they buy it for cash is they refinance another property, they call me up, and then we go out and purchase another home, and we basically pay cash for it. I do a lot of those kind of deals. My office is in Newport Beach. I have 18,000 previous clients. I see what they do. I know what kind of people that I do loans for, and you know, the makers of Botox, Allergan. I've done so many loans for those people are so wealthy. It's unbelievable. I look at, and I'm just talking like mid-level management people. Those are the people that are living in Corona Del Mar. They have millions of dollars in their retirement plans. These guys, and they're really cool guys, and I get a lot of referrals from them. But you know, it's just amazing how many people, and you know, the inventory levels haven't come back up to where we were before the pandemic. So those kinds of areas, I'm not surprised one bit. I'm not surprised. What will change is when the economy starts losing more jobs and when people start filing for unemployment. And those numbers are not up dramatically yet. But that can change.
Well, to Don's point, I'm going to say this, which is, again, Mission Viejo is a town of 12 houses. And I mean that pejoratively. Did I get that right, Carol? It's when you're talking about these little tiny isolated communities, Mission Viejo, Laguna Niguel, they're gonna remain the way they are. Beverly Hills, it's just reality. Malibu, there are certain places that will be unaffected. There were, I will say it again, 2007 to 2012, there were communities that were completely unaffected. They did not see the same drop-offs. The question is, what's happening in the major metros? What's the public perception of homeowners, buyers and sellers, right? What's the perception of investors? What is the mainstream? I mean, the 2, 4, 7, 11, 12, 13 channel news. What are they pumping out to everybody? Right? That's when it gets serious.
But the bottom line is when it comes down to an area like Orange County, they look at their 2.8% interest rate that they have on their mortgage, and then they go out and look at what the new payments are going to be when they sell their home, and their payments go up dramatically, and they just say to themselves, I'm staying put. I like where I live too much. I like my interest rate too much to be willing to go from 2.5 or 2.7 to go up to 6.5, 4% higher. And we're talking on a $1.5 million home, 4% on 1.5 is $60,000. $60,000 divided by 12, we're talking $5,000 a month difference in the payment. These are just quick numbers, but approximately $5,000 a month difference. Are you going to move for a $5,000 a month higher payment when you are perfectly okay where you're at? Nope.
There you go.
That's why there's no active listings within a half mile of Don's property. These are people where someone passed away, the family members are fighting over the living trust, and they're going to sell the property during an amazing time of low inventory. Good for you.
Hey, everybody, get your ticket down in the description here on the chat board. Again, March 27th, 11 to about 7, probably closer to 7:30. So you can certainly do same day if you're coming up from LA. It's kind of designed that way as well for those that want to do that. We have all our speakers lined up. We will be featuring a bunch of great people. All that information is out. You can check it out on social media. Tickets are down in the description. Get a discount ticket. If you're watching this and you're watching it online and you got to pay $99 for one ticket, boy, you should be here on these coaching calls, and then you could have gotten the discount ticket and brought a guest with you, but you didn't. But it is well worth the price of admission at whatever price you pay, because we do have a very solid lineup. It should be a fantastic day. Please take action. That is Monday, March 27th. And again, for anybody who's going on Monday, if you want to see me on Saturday at the Steve Love 5-hour mega extravaganza of seeing me speak for 5 straight hours, you are welcome. We're making that crossover. So, and those people will be there from 2 o'clock on Monday, joining us downstairs for our speaker lineup, featuring Steve Hawks, Brandy White Elk, Dr. Terrell Miller, Antonio Atoche. Those are 4 very, 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 very solid speakers. Very solid speakers. Antonio asked, what am I going to talk about? I said, just tell them what you do. That'll be more than enough. That will blow their minds.
We're going to pick some people that are hopefully can benefit, from our marketing. And, if everybody would get their email lists together, and we will actually do it for you live. I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to take some people and I want to get their email list, help them design a marketing content piece, and send it out to their database of people that know them, like them, trust them, and have done business with them, or have called them to do business with you, and to get all of those emails together. And then I will show you exactly the content that I put out and end up sending to my previous clients and whoever else is on my email list. And I will show you exactly what I do.
We will do, the morning session is me and Fred. And by the way, I agree with you, Fred. We should do real-time marketing for results. I don't think I've done anything real-time since 2008 at the Venetian, when I escalated a call at 5 o'clock on a Friday, which is the dumbest thing I ever tried to do, and still managed to pull off the escalation. But that was fun. So Fred and I will do that. You get us for 3 straight hours. We're just going to talk about marketing. We'll talk about email marketing. We'll discuss monster marketing. We'll discuss video marketing. We'll talk about using your social media. I'll show you guys as many tricks and as many loopholes as I can, the stuff that I actually use online. So that'll be great. Make sure to get your ticket. Make sure we're very close to full. If everybody brings a guest, it will be very close to full. It won't be in the afternoon, but in the morning, I think we're limited to about 30 people in the morning. But in the afternoon, because I am bringing in the investors as well, I'm good up to about 150 or so. Like that's a big room downstairs. So that's going to be our speaker room, and that's where we will do all our wonderful little TED Talks. Please take advantage of that information.